There's some hard to swallow truths about the reality of nutrition. There's some things out there that no matter how good they taste or how good they make you feel, you're better off without them. Now, I'm going to get this point out of the way early this time. Live your life, enjoy your life. What good is a functioning body that you go out of your way to take care of if you don't do anything with it? So move and adventure. Push your limits and celebrate your victories the way you like to. But understand what poisons are going to make life a lot less fun. Today we've got a nutrient that can feel great in the right amounts and can ruin everything when you indulge past it. It's time to bring to light another one of the real killers. Ladies and gentlemen, we are gathered here to talk about the greatest temptation the devil ever made, alcohol. Let me know if you get the reference, but the truth is, alcohol is a very unique beast in the world of nutrition. Alcohol is the quote-unquote fourth macronutrient, meaning that it contributes calories when consumed. Alcohol is 7 calories per gram, which is noticeably more than the 4 in protein and carbohydrates, but a bit less than the 9 in fat. I do feel the need to mention that not all 7 calories from alcohol are typically absorbed. Usually, the more you have at once, exponentially the less you absorb. But that doesn't really feel like a helpful solution if you think about it for more than 2 seconds. The thing is, due to most products containing alcohol being liquid, this can make it very quick and easy to consume unwanted or unnoticed calories. Unlike other macronutrients, calories from alcohol are truly useless in and of themselves. They offer no consistent tangible benefits of their own and no nutrients with benefits that come with them. On top of this, the body is shown to prioritize metabolizing alcohol at the expense of other more valuable nutrients, including proteins, fats, carbs, vitamins, and minerals. Now, the main active ingredient in alcoholic products is ethanol. This is the substance that contributes to drunkenness. It's produced by yeast that digests sugars, and it's what's known as a psychoactive ingredient, having a potentially powerful effect on your mood and mental state. And alcohol consumption is shown to contribute to a lot of other things too, with most of them not being very positive. The interesting thing is, alcohol is not as much of an epidemic as the other nutrients that I've given the title of killer. It's been more of a slow burn of use throughout history. And in real killer tradition at this point, I'd like to take a minute to review how we got to where we are with it. Alcohol is believed by many to have existed as early as 7000 BC. Fermented grain and fruit juice have been used to make alcoholic drinks for thousands of years. There's evidence of the ancient civilization of Mesopotamia making beer at roughly 3000 BC. And many other prosperous civilizations at the time seem to follow not long after, including ancient China, India, and ancient Egypt. In fact, in ancient Egypt, beer was literally considered the drink of the gods. As early as 2000 BC, Greek winemakers were fully cashing in on their vineyards. There were literally deities for wine in many cultures, notably Greece. Ironically, Greek literature has many warnings against excessive drinking that everyone, including them, seem to have actively ignored. All of this to nail home the point that alcohol has been around forever and has been a problem for nearly as long. In more recent history, multiple Native American peoples developed fermented beverages from corn and certain fruits in pre-Columbian times, just in case you were getting the idea that this was just an old world phenomenon. In the 16th century, alcohol under the name of spirits were used medicinally of all things. Did I say it right this time? Starting around 1550, excessive use of distilled spirits started in England, though it wasn't until the 18th century when British law was passed, effectively encouraging the use of grain for distilling spirits. Not long after, cheap spirit purchase peaked. This is when it was believed that alcoholism became a more common and widespread concept, at least in the Western world. In the 19th century, the temperance movement began, promoting moderation of alcohol. This eventually culminated in 1919 when the US passed an amendment prohibiting everything alcohol-related. They then, not long after in 1933, passed another one to repeal this. Now, for me, the takeaway from all of this is that alcohol is a beast that cannot be killed, and it is instead one that must be caged. It's a mountain that you can climb, but it would be a fool's errand to try and move it. Unlike the added sugars or trans fats that we've covered in the past, where public awareness or government intervention can play a big role in fixing the problem, alcohol as a killer really comes down to the individual. It's the little devil whispering in your ear that, despite knowing what it does, beckons, "What's one more shot?" It's the personal Pandora's box of the nutritional world that once you open it, it can be pretty tough to close. And it can be just as much a real killer as anything else we'll ever talk about on this channel. Allow me to explain. While for most people, alcohol is the go-to aid for a good time, there's a lot going on under the surface in terms of what it can do to your body. Now, first I want to mention that at several points throughout this segment and the next, I will be referring to drinking in moderation. According to the CDC, this means 1 drink a day for women and 2 for men, a standard drink being roughly 14 grams of pure alcohol. And now the bad, because let's face it, you knew that was going to be most of it. Arguably the most important way that alcohol can negatively affect your body is what it can do to the liver. One of your liver's main main functions is to neutralize toxic substances. It's more vulnerable when compared to other vital organs to damage from alcohol, potentially leading to alcoholic liver diseases that make you more susceptible to other potentially hazardous things that end up in your body. The first of these you're likely to encounter is fatty liver disease. This is defined as an increase of fat in the liver cells, and it develops in more than 90% of people who consume at least 4 standard drinks a day. When taken a step further, heavy drinking can lead to liver inflammation and eventually cirrhosis. This is where liver cells die and are replaced by scar tissue, and a liver transplant is most likely necessary. Alcohol can also have a pretty big impact on the health of your brain. Ethanol can inhibit communication between brain cells. Short-term symptoms are just potential memory loss and worsened decision-making, but chronic alcohol consumption can have more permanent effects, impairing cognitive function. This may eventually lead to dementia or brain shrinkage. Realistically, there's no cap on the negatives here. The more you abuse it, the worse it can get. Abuse of alcohol can also have a negative effect on your mental health. Alcohol intake and depression have a very linear association both ways. Those who abuse alcohol are more likely to be depressed, and those who are depressed or face higher levels of anxiety are more likely to abuse alcohol. It seems to be a pretty vicious cycle. I, however, am going to avoid discussing any other psychological effects, as that is straying a bit out of my lane. But don't worry, there's plenty more that alcohol messes up that I can talk about, like its effects on your heart. Funny enough, light drinking is shown to have little negative effect to possibly even a reduced risk of heart disease, though anything past that is shown to exponentially increase the risk, and heavier drinking may contribute to an increased risk of high blood pressure and type 2 diabetes. The general suggestion by both the American Heart Association and anyone with 2 remaining brain cells is that if you currently don't drink, don't start. And all of this is before considering the contributions to cancer. Even light to moderate alcohol consumption is a risk factor for mouth, throat, colon, breast, and liver cancers. 1 drink per day is linked to a 20% increased risk of mouth and throat cancers, and obviously the more you consume, the more the risk increases. This is one of those negative factors involving alcohol consumption that's pretty irrefutable at this point. And as previously mentioned, alcohol contains 7 calories per gram, leading to many alcoholic drinks containing as many calories as sugary drinks like sodas. And again, these calories are not doing you any good whatsoever. Now, that's all the big negatives associated with excessive alcohol consumption, but trust me, there's plenty more that just aren't quite so detrimental. Other potential long-term effects include anxiety or irritability, insomnia, a weakened immune system, a change in appetite, trouble concentrating, worsened memory, gastrointestinal issues, decreased bone density, pancreatic inflammation, potentially leading to insufficient insulin release, alterations in libido and related functions, and alcohol during pregnancy is shown to increase the risk of birth defects. Basically, if you think of a random negative health effect, alcohol probably does something related to that. Now, the last thing I want to cover is, are there any positives to alcohol consumption? While certainly not the most backed benefits, some studies have shown light alcohol consumption may raise HDL cholesterol levels slightly and reduce the risk of type 2 diabetes slightly. The key words here being may and slightly. Let's be real, this is me playing devil's advocate here. Some studies even go as far as to say that light alcohol consumption may reduce the risk of an early death. I distinctly remember in the news, I believe it was a British gentleman who said that his secret to living past 100 was every day he would walk down to a local pub and order a whiskey. Now, I'm sure the regular walking did him a lot of good, as well as the friends that he made while he was there, but the whiskey? Whatever you need to tell yourself, bud. Maybe it does actually help. You know, assuming you get past the liver diseases, brain diseases, heart diseases, diabetes risk, cancer risk, depression, and the risk of a terrible accident while drinking. Go ahead, roll the dice. Now, normally in these videos, I'd go over sources of our culprit nutrients, but let's be honest, you know where to find alcohol. It's pretty hard to deny that alcohol belongs in this series, but again, the methods to beating it aren't so cut and dry. This is a nutrient that's going to come down to personal control. You have access to the data, but only you can find the balance. And this is just my personal PSA. If you struggle with finding that balance, don't hesitate to reach out to those around you for help. There are some demons that the quicker you hunt them down, the better off you'll be, and this is definitely one of them. Now, if you enjoyed the video, or at the very least learned a little something, I encourage you to subscribe, as I've got plenty more of these on the way. Go ahead and let me know down in the comments what other nutrients, good or bad, you think deserve an entire in-depth breakdown video like this. And remember that all I ask is that you do your own research and advocate for your body. You only get the one.